Hello everyone, I'm Kennedy and in this video I'm going to show to you how to deploy your Docker app on AWS using Elastic Container Service. And for this sample I'm going to use a .NET app. So the first thing that I need to do here is to create our .NET app project. So I'm going to create a new one right now and I will choose the API type ASP.NET Core Web API. Okay. And the name will be Weather Forecast Docker App on AWS. Okay. And I will enable HTTPS support and I want to enable Docker support for the Linux. So I'm going to create. Let's check how it goes. It should not be slow. So, okay, great. We already have here our controller, weather forecast controller. So let's check here this Docker file that as we already enabled the Docker support, we already have the Docker file written here. So let's run this app to guarantee that's working as expected. The first thing that you need to do, test. Let's check that's working correctly. Okay, awesome. The app is already working. So what I'm going to do here, we already have this app running locally and we already have our Docker file written. So what do we need to do to have our application running on AWS? We need to take some steps to do that. The first step that you need to take is to create a private ECR. A private ECR is a repository where we are going to push our image there. So we are going to create this repository right now. After creating this repository, what we need to do? We need to create our cluster. But before create our cluster, we need to create our network. But don't worry, we are going to take all these steps together. So create a repository. I will call this repository of, let's close this and let's only skip organize it. I will call this repository weather forecast Docker app. Okay. I will create it as private and create a repository. Okay, awesome. When we create a repository here, we already have the commands explaining how to push an image there. So I'm going to use this commands to push the image here. Let me only open the project here. We have weather forecast Docker on AWS. Great. I need to log in, right? So I will going to use this first command to log in. Login succeed. Awesome. Now what I need to do, basically we are building and after we are tagging, I'm going to make these two commands one. So how we can do that? Basically we need only to use here docker build dash t and I will pass the name that I want. So the name will be the name and the tag. So let's use it here. The last parameter is always the context, so I'll put the current Docker, the current directory, and Docker build. Now I need to pass where my Docker file is located. So let's put it here. Dash F, I need to get this exactly here, and Docker file. Okay, awesome. We already have our command here, Docker build dash F, Docker file path, dash T, Docker file name, and context. So we should be able to build our Docker file, our Docker app right now. It's saying that we only need one argument. Oh, okay, great. I'm putting in the space here. No problem. I copied from here. Copy. It's only we just need let this part, that is the name that we want to put here. So now probably is going to work. Docker build, it's building as expected. It's a small image. Okay, great. We already have our image here. So what do we need to do now? It's a push. Let's push. Uh, let's push this image. Now we can check if the image was pushed by updating the repository. So let's check here. I'm only waiting for the command, for the push command to finish it. Finish it. Okay, awesome. We already have our image here. So awesome. We only need to take 2 more steps to have our application running on the cloud. Basically, now we need to create a network. So let's create a VPC. I'm going to create a VPC in another tab here to not get confused. So create a VPC. I will create a VPC here called weather forecast Docker app. That's great because here I'm using the wizard, and the wizard will really make it easy to create the resources that you need to create. So here at my right side, we can see the resource that AWS is going to create to us, and it is going to create a VPC, 4 subnets, 3 route tables, 2 network connections. But I'm going to edit this. So here it's saying number of availability zones 2. So let's put on 2 because we need at least 2 different ASIs when we are creating an ECS cluster. So that's important. Public subnets 2. That's okay. 2. Number of private subnets. I don't want any private subnets, so I will put 0. Not gateway. I'm not using private subnets, so I don't I don't need to use NAT gateways too. So I put none. And on the VPC endpoints, I don't want an S3 gateway endpoint too. So I'll put none. So now we can see that this is going to generate a VPC, 2 subnets, 1 route table, and 1 internet gateway. We can see here with the suffix IGW. This is internet gateway. So let's create the VPC. That's amazing. And because here we can see the step-by-step that the wizard is executing. But let's check how our VPC was created. So we have the VPC. We have here 2 subnets in 2 different ASIs. The important point is that we want these 2 subnets to be public. And to be public, these subnets need to have a different flag than the default enabled. That is the auto assign IPv4, public IPv4. So let me enable this flag. Auto assign public IPv4. I will enable this by editing subnet settings. Enable save. And I'll do the same here for this one. We need to enable the auto-assign public IP. If not, our app will not have public IP. So enable auto-assign public IP. Save. Okay, great. Here we can see that we have a route table too, and in this route table we already have the default routing pointing to our new internet gateway. So the wizard really facilitates our life. So now we are able to create our ECS. So let's create it together. I'm going to open a new tab. And I will create a new ECS cluster. I will create it here. an ECS cluster called weather forecast app ECS. Okay. Networking. I will choose the VPC that we just created together, weather forecast Docker app VPC, and I will pick both subnets in both phases. Okay. Here in the infrastructure type, we basically have two different types. We have AWS Fargate, where we are talking about serverless, which is not what we want here, or we have EC2 instances, that is my preference. So I'm going to use EC2 instance. I'm going to ask for a new autoscaling group creation, create a new autoscaling group, and I want to use the operating system Amazon Linux here. I will put here a not expensive cluster t3.newden, and I will ask for a capacity, for example, of two uh, instances. So this autoscaling group, this cluster that we are creating here, will have two instances registered, two nodes. Let's create it. In the SSH where I will put my default key and create. It's creating our ECS cluster. It can take a bit longer, but don't worry. We still need to create some more things to have our Docker app running. So what we need to create now, it's the task definition. So every time that we want to have a Docker app running, we need to create our cluster, but we need to create a task definition, and after that, you need to create the service. So, and so on, we'll have our Docker app running. What a test definition is. A test definition is the place that we are going to put the container specifications. So we are going to put there how much memory, how many memory we are going to use, how many CPU we are going to use, what is the image name that we are going to use. This kind of specification will put in the test definition. After having the test definition, we will create the service. The service is the application running the image. So the service is the containers, the application. So let's have this working right now. So I will create the task definition. I will call this by weather forecast Docker app test, where I will call the container name of weather forecast Docker app. The image URI that we need, it's the URI of our private repository. So we have this information here. I will copy and I will paste. Here it's saying that this task definition is saying that he is going to try to listen the application, the container port 80. So we need to take care to check if our Docker file is exposing this port. And in this case, it is. So this port is being exposed, no problem. So next. Same thing here. It's saying AWS Fargate serverless. We don't want that. We want to use our EC2 instance. Here I would say that we don't need more than 0.25 virtual CPUs and 0.5 JB of memory. We don't need any other custom configuration, so I'm going to hit the next button. Okay, create. Okay, now we have our cluster. We have the task definition saying the image and the specifications of the container that we are going to run. Now we need to create the service. So I will create the service here. I'm going to cluster, our cluster here. Here you can see in the infrastructure part that we already have two instances running here, right? Now I will create a container here by creating a service. So let's do that. I will put here launch type EC2. And in the service, now I will specify the task definition that we just created. So I will select this one, weather forecast Docker app task. I'll put here the name of the service will be weather forecast Docker app service, and I will put it to run as a daemon. What it means, when we are running application in the replica mode, we can run, for example, we can have two instances in the cluster, but we can choose to have only one container running. So one of the instances will not have our container. When we are running daemon type, if we choose daemon type, our app is going to run, our app is going to create one container by instance. So if we have here two nodes, we are going to have two containers, one per host. So I'm going to choose a daemon here. And I will create. That's okay. Okay, awesome. We already have our service here, and the deploy is in progress. Uh, it's in progress, no problem. What you need to do here, I will show you the difficult way of check if your container is running. So here we can see that we have this instance running one task and this instance running another task. So let's check if it's running. So I'm going to click on the instance ID, and I will try to access this instance. So connect, and I want to connect through SSH client. Let's connect here. I'm going to get here my SSH folder, and I will try to connect. You can see that it will not connect. And why? Because we need to enable SSH access in this instance. And to do that, we need to create an inbound rule in our security group. So let's create this together. I'm trying to access the instance EC2 44 244 security group. I'm going to edit the inbound rules. I will delete this one, and I will allow SSH access from my IP. Save rules. Let's check here. So I will try again with the SSH. Now you can see that we are able to reach that instance through the 22 port. So yes, that's awesome. We are inside our instance. So let's check if it's running, and it's running. Here we have the container running in the 49.153 port. So let's check if it's working correctly. HTTP, I'll make a URL HTTP and localhost, and the port will be 49.153 slash weather forecast. Okay, it's working. Amazing. So now let's try to access this application from our browser to see what happens. So I'm going to take here the public IP that we have. 44, we have this, right? We can use the DNS or the public IP. I'll use the public IP. and the port is this one. So let's copy this and okay. Will not work again. And why? Because again, we need to allow traffic over the internet in our instance. And to do that, we need again to create an inbound rule in our security group, allowing traffic in this port. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to edit this again, edit the security group, edit inbound rules. I will create a custom TCP. I will put here the port 49153 and I will allow traffic from anywhere because I want this application to be exposed in the internet. So I will save and let's check what happens. We should be able to hit this. Oh, sorry, we need to put here weather forecast. That's amazing. Our application is exposed and it's running. So that's really awesome. That's really awesome. So that's it for today. I wanted to show you how to deploy your Docker app, and here we are. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.